Hello again, everybody. My name is Eric Allen. I'm with Sorcerer Radio, and today I am in the presence of two gentlemen who have gone ahead and done pretty much what every kid growing up watching Star Wars wanted to do, but just never could do.
I am Chris Lee.
I'm Greg Dietrich.
Could you talk a little bit about the project that y'all are involved with?
The project that we're talking about here is the Full-Scale Falcon Project, something that some crazy, insane idea that I came up with years and years ago, and after a little bit of of work, realized it was something that one person could not accomplish, and so found some like-minded, insane individuals, one of whom standing here with me, Greg. And just like you heard, we're building a full-scale Millennium Falcon, which sounds interesting on the surface, but once you dig into it, it's quite complicated.
So where did the inspiration for doing this come from? Where did the original spark the idea come from?
For me, it was when I was 12 years old and saw it on the movie screen for the first time. When you see it on the screen for the first time in Star Wars, when they're heading down the stairs into the docking bay and into the hangar, and Luke says, "What a piece of junk." I thought the exact opposite. When I saw it on screen, I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my 12-year-old life. And someday I'm going to have one of those. And here we are.
So when did serious construction on this begin?
Serious construction began, believe it or not, May 4th, 2012. No, 11. 2011. And it originally started with just the center console. I found Chris Lee's site, FullScaleFalcon.com, and said, "Oh, I really want to be part of this." And I said, "I'll build the one of the most iconic parts of the cockpit first. Get the center console. I'll ship it off to him and be finished with it, and wait till it can be done." And then as the project moved on, someone said, "Oh, well, if you're going to build the console, you got to build the back wall." And then someone added onto the thread, "Yeah, but if he does that, he's got to add the ceiling." And then someone said, "Well, if he does that, and then it just snowballed into this, and so here we are.
Okay, what kind of materials? There is no shopping list for building a Falcon. Was this kind of like trial and error along the way?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. The showpiece you see here is really, I would say, Chris, is probably a trial or a test run of what we should and should not do. I can tell you right now, there are things that I would never do on this one, a material I would never use ever again if I was to do it again, which I'm going to have to do again. So the showpiece is primarily wood, whether that's pine, multi-density fiberboard, and stuff like that. The real one, the panels might be...
We don't know yet.
I mean...
This one is built to tour around and sort of have people get excited about the project, but won't necessarily be used in the final project. Because the final project is the entire ship, which needs to stand on its own outdoors like a spaceship. So it's going to be built out of concrete, steel, metal, all those things. So we have a lot more research to do in what type of materials we can use for something permanent. But like Greg said, this has been an awesome experiment just in a giant geometry problem, if nothing else, trying to figure out how all of these things fit together.
Yeah, and also, what we see here, this is going to be kept inside. The other one, which is going to be outside, is going to be exposed to all of the elements: wind, rain, temperature change. So we have to take all of that into consideration.
What have y'all been using as reference materials to develop?
Lots and lots of stuff. Many years ago, when I started the crazy idea for this project, probably in 2005, started doing some research to figure out what would it take to build one of these, and surely I can just get online or buy a book and find some blueprints. Not really, because this was never built as in the way that we need to build it, which is basically as a commercial building, an exterior structure. These are all built as movie sets, which, if you know anything about the industry, movie sets really only need to last for the length of the filming, which is a couple of weeks, and then they either destroy them, take them apart, reuse them, or whatever. So the only blueprints that existed for this were for pieces of it that had been built as movie sets. And while those were quite handy, part of the problem is that the interior sets, like you see here for the cockpit would not fit into the exterior sets where they built the outside of the ship, because they would use Hollywood tricks like forced perspective and different lenses and things. So we had to do quite a bit of research to figure out, okay, if we're going to build this thing, how big does the exterior set actually have to be to fit the interior into it?
That's a question that I was also interested in asking, because depending on what documents you refer to, what website or what book, the size of the exterior kind of varies.
It does.
What's the best ballpark measurements y'all have arrived at?
Right now, we've arrived at approximately 114 feet from nose to tail, and about 89 feet across the dish.
I think so.
From one edge to the other, and then from ground level to the tip top of the radar dish is a little under 30 feet. So it's a 3-story building. And those numbers came from multiple sources, which makes us feel pretty good. Like, I did a lot of research in 2005, 2006. Then I found on an internet archive this guy from Australia who had done basically the exact same research back in the 90s. And his site had gone offline, but there was a copy of it preserved on the internet archive. And I compared, and we came really close to those numbers. Then a guy that Greg and I met through the internet, who was doing a 3D model of the cockpit as a animation project for his school, he came up with some very similar numbers. And then 2 people that I know, professional illustrators, were contracted by Lucasfilm a few years ago to do the blueprints book, not the actual blueprints, but like a set of blueprints that you would use in that universe. And they did their own research. Which lined up with ours, and those numbers are blessed by Lucasfilm, because those were actually done in DK Publishing under Lucasfilm's name. So that number of approximately 114 feet by 89 feet has 4 different independent sources, one of which is the official source. So we're going with those numbers.
Speaking of Lucasfilm and the official source, what's been their reaction to all this?
It's been quite good. I've had a long relationship with Lucasfilm through the 501st and through the R2 Builders Club. They're very supportive of fan projects like this, and we've had lots of conversations. They're behind it. As long as we play by their rules, they're okay with it. We're hoping to bring pieces of this to the next celebration, which will be in 2015.
Just out of curiosity,
pardon the Dalek.
Just out of curiosity, what are their rules?
The rules are very similar for all of the fan groups, like the R2 Builders, the Rebel Legion, the 501st. It's that Lucasfilm owns, it's their intellectual property.
Okay.
So you can do basically anything, as long as you're not charging money for it, as long as you're not abusing the IP, like making the characters do something that they wouldn't do in the universe, not doing anything illegal, keeping up with the spirit. So for instance, we can't have a Kickstarter to raise money for the project. So that's a no-no. You can't do any public fundraising. We can do charity work, we can have donated materials, things like that, but we can't solicit funds. So you won't ever see a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo for this.
Gotcha.
But there are other creative ways to get things, funded.
I think it's great that Lucasfilm is actually encouraging this kind of fan participation.
There's a group of prop builders in Belgium that build huge things. I don't know if you saw the full-size TIE Interceptor. That was built by the Belgian garrison. Lucasfilm actually pays to have their stuff put in shipping containers and shipped from Belgium to the U.S. for the conventions.
Now that is awesome.
They're that supportive of it. So, I mean, when you think about it, it's free stuff. I mean, they don't have to build anything.
Right.
Just like with the 501st, if they need 50 stormtroopers at an event, they just call us up. Hey, show up, and we do. They don't have to even hire anyone.
So you are a part of the 501st.
One of the original, well, I wouldn't say original, but it's one of my white plastic brethren there. I think we're over 10,000 members now worldwide. I was trooper number 61 back in 1997.
Wow.
Yeah, go way back. And I've been in the R2 Builders Club since, like 2000. So yeah, long history of building props and wearing plastic under the Lucasfilm banner.
Going back to the show cockpit that's here in front of us, I love how you've labeled each segment. Like you have B Han number 3 and B Chewy number 3. Just they're labeled all over the back, so it's like, well, this is the where side.
Instead of left and right, it's Han and Chewy.
Exactly. How many parts does this break down into?
That would probably be for me.
How many pieces does it, or should it? Because didn't you discover that it's easier to leave some of it together when you're moving it?
Yeah, we actually had it here at the Science Center about a month and a half ago. I disassembled the entire thing, every single panel, and then very quickly realized, well, that was the dumbest thing I could have done, because I could have left huge portions of it already in place, and so the back panel itself is 10 pieces, plus the door, plus all the padding. So I'm going to say 30 to 50 pieces.
Yeah, when we got here yesterday, Greg had already unloaded most of it and laid it out in this room. The floor was covered with pieces.
Yeah.
About how long does it take to bring in and set up and assemble?
If one person is doing it, about 4 to 6 hours, and I've done it so many times. If I've got a team of people, we can knock it out in about 2 hours.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Which luckily there's no shortage of volunteers when you show up at this thing and people want to help.
So I've been very fortunate.
Okay. All right. So one final question for you, Jim, and I do greatly appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. What's in the future for the project? What time frame are you looking at to hopefully get the exterior?
I would love to tell you 5 years, 3 years. It's almost impossible to put a time frame on it at this point. But we would hope that the next big step would be some outside funding to help us move along, because we do have a large acreage about an hour west of Nashville where we plan to permanently install it and hopefully build almost like a maker retreat around it. So people could come out and spend time learning how to do the different trades and crafts that it takes to put this together, and then maybe even have it in some fan films, things like that. It's going to be the whole Field of Dreams concept. We know when we build it, people will come. We just have to make sure that we can manage that process.
That's a great analogy, because I guarantee you, if you build it, they will come. Well, gentlemen, I greatly appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.